is a Muslimah? What makes her unique? Where is her story? I'm here to shed light on voices of powerful Muslim women who are a mystery to the media. My name is Noor Hewaidi and you're listening to Muslimah Demystified. To tell us her story today is Toronto-based content creator and producer, Miss Samah. Such an honor to speak to you. Welcome, Samah.
Hi everyone.
So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and the life chapter you're currently in?
I am in the 20s chapter of my life where it's super ambitious and exciting. I run a production company with my co-founder Jenny J called Sisterhood Media, where we produce content that is all about identity, probing conversations, that stigmatized conversations that aren't really talked about, and serving media for people who are on the margins of society who just want to see people like them. So whether that is the Haitian woman who just came from Haiti and now lives in Montreal, or the young Muslim girl who lives in Scarborough, Ontario, it's really anywhere.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. So how I found out about Samah was a couple months ago, one of my professors emailed me a news article, a CBC article about a documentary that Samah made called Hyphen Nation. And it follows conversations with 5 women, and it looks at what it means to be a Black woman in Canada. And it premiered at 5 film festivals and won 2 national awards. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's amazing. So, Samah, I want you to return to the moment when you felt compelled to collect and share the voices of Canadian women of color. What inspired you to do that?
It was a class discussion because we were talking about hyphenated identities and how, specifically in Canada, there's a lot of immigrants who come in. And when those immigrants have children, you have like migration stories that are now passed down and intergenerational stories.
Right.
And what is it like to actually be from different generations of somebody who is from China or different generations of somebody who's from Somalia? So we were really unpacking this theme. And I just wrote down the idea, specifically the name first, in my idea journal. So it was really the same emphasis of all of my other ideas, but for this one to actually manifest in this way was really exciting. I got Jenny on board because we worked at the publication that allowed us to have all the technology and screening space for it. So that was the Western Gazette. And we made an incredible doc. I tapped 2 of my roommates and 3 of my friends because I knew that they were cool and they would have good answers. And it blossomed into what it is today.
Yeah, really cool. And we'll leave our listeners the link to the documentary in the description so they can check it out as well.
Yeah, come through.
Yeah. So what message did you want to sort of send Canada and the world through your lens, through your film?
I think this project was specifically considering what does it mean to be a Black Canadian woman and if people actually identify with that. And the response from myself and as well as all the women involved in the project could not identify themselves with that title because we don't know what it looks like to be a Black Canadian woman. We've never seen it in our history books.
Right.
We don't even see it in contemporary history either. So I think that speaks to a lot of other hyphenated identities. We don't know what it's like to be like an Indian Canadian woman. And that in and of itself, we really wanted to push that and get other people to identify with the fact that there's so many hyphenated identities, not only in Canada, but the world.
Right.
And for us to see how international migration changes someone's identity and their social stratification of like 2 different ethnicities or 2 different nationalities was really what we wanted to make the underlying message. So when we show it at film festivals, when we show it at different screenings, it's really nice to see high school students be like, I totally identify with that. When I go home, everything I know is Sri Lankan. Or when I go home, everything I know is Egyptian. Yeah. So what is it actually like to be in that kind of like dual situation? Or maybe even like multifaceted situation?
Yeah, and what it's like to have that identity represented as well on the screen. How did it feel as a Kenyan, Somali, Canadian Muslimah to share your story and the stories of these women at these film festivals? How did that feel to bring your voice to light?
It's a lot of honor because these are my friends and they did trust me with this, like, responsibility. It's funny though because when we made it, they just thought that they were like signing up to help out with, you know, like another video project, and it's like it'll just be like done and over with. And we got accepted into one film festival, and we got accepted to another film festival, and it just kept going, and the list kept going, and then we got like awards, and it was just like wow. And then we released it online because accessible media matters, and it blew up. The Facebook video alone got like 11,000 views. The YouTube video has 3,000 views right now.
Incredible.
It's very fascinating to see how it like keeps going, and the power of sharing too. Because once you identify with something, you can share it with your community, and this is very much a community-based discussion. So if you've had this conversation with your auntie, and you send it to your auntie's probably going to send it to all of her sisters, and all of her brothers, and then just keep going from there.
Absolutely, yeah. So on the topic of community, so obviously we're both Muslim women and we grew up in Canada. I'm from Canada as well, navigating Western society, and we have a lot of, I would say, shared experiences and shared struggles in that, but we also have different experiences. What would you say is unique about your experience as a young Black Canadian Muslimah?
First of all, I'm not visibly Muslim. I don't wear a hijab, and I also don't wear a lot of traditional clothing, like abayas, like longer skirts. So as a result, nobody actually considers me a Muslim until I specify. In fact, growing up, before people actually knew different ethnicity markers, everybody just thought that I was like some Black Christian girl who was like Catholic because a lot of my friends thought I was like my best friend who's Eritrean and she's a Catholic. So it was interesting to actually be like incog Muslim and have that word. But I also think that it's also a fact of being a Black woman, because a lot of people before didn't understand that Black people could also be Muslim. Because when people think of Muslim, they typically think of North African and Middle East
Arab
identities. Even stemming into some parts of the Desi community, as I know a lot of Sikh and Punjabi people are always considered Muslim because of ignorance. And that was kind of my upbringing growing up. As the Muslim woman now, I do a lot of, I'm very vocal about my Muslim identity. If it's not one of the first conversations that I have with someone who's new, they'll probably find out through my Twitter feed, or they'll probably find out through the work that I'm doing. I've run workshops with Badass Muslimah, this incredible organization, and it's specifically for different media skills that Muslim women can sign themselves up for and learn. And I'm currently coordinating a web series with them called Somewhere In, about those young girls in Scarborough, Toronto. It's really interesting to actually manifest different kinds of Muslim women identities in different spaces, as well as proudly claim that I'm a Muslim woman.
Yeah, that's great. You sort of touched upon this idea of sort of shared experiences with different Muslim women, and this goes back to so you're the co-founder of Sisterhood Media, and I want to ask you, what does sisterhood mean to you?
I mean, we're all just in this dunya together, right? So with that in mind, like, it's important to recognize our differences, and it's also important to recognize our similarities. And I find that it's really beautiful when we have those like linked bonds and allyship across different ethnic groups, across different nationalities, across different races, and across also within the same ethnicity group, but just different tribal groups. We should always be aligned with each other, because if the Blackest people in the world are still under oppression, then everybody is still under oppression. But that's not how we actually evolve into work. And everybody has their work to do, right? And so with Sisterhood Media, it's more of like a stamp. Like, this has been approved by the Sisterhood. This has been approved by people who are socially aware of the content that they're consuming. This has been approved by people who are making projects that are along the similar lines of other projects that you see. If you see something that is specifically about the Black Torontonian experience and what it's like to be from the East African world, come to Toronto and then see your neighborhoods that you've grown up in here change. It's very similar to a podcast called The Cancelled, which is all about Black girl magic and recognizing not only who's cancelled, but also giving affirmations. And it's giving that kind of stamp of approval across different projects. You know that you're kind of consuming the same media that is like-minded and is also very inclusive.
Yeah. I think we're touching on the theme of self-representation and, you know, through films that you're making, through Sisterhood Media. I think self-representation is a challenge of dominant discourses, mainstream discourses that tell Muslim women who we are. And I think pushing back is creating these spaces and saying, no, like, this is who we are. Let us tell you who we are. So tell us a little bit about what Sisterhood Media does.
Sisterhood Media specifically creates not only content, but content in different realms. So that could be a photo gallery, a podcast, or a film project that is episodic or one piece. And with that, we offer the space for people to actually bring up their projects and to have resources and technical skills to do so. So my co-founder and I, Jenny, we have technical experience with actually working alongside editing for audio editing, video editing. We know how to work cameras. Jenny is a camera extraordinaire. She's a wizard, and she loves the technical aspects of actually creating projects.
Yeah.
So when you have people who come in with different creative ideas, and they are disempowered with the idea, like, you know, I'm familiar with a camera, but I can't tell you, like, the fine details of how I want it to be shot, but I know I want it to be shot like this. Yeah. So that's kind of pairing you with somebody and with a group of people who are not only co-signed and have their own projects, kind of a network of people, but as well as the resources to do so. So you can create a team out of our team, essentially, and get your project done and have it successfully made and then released.
That's really cool, and it's, you know, empowering people with the tools that are otherwise, you know, maybe not easily accessible to them, to tell their own stories and to share their voices. And I think especially in the digital society that we're all living in, the media is such an important tool to vocalize who you are. So I think it's great to have projects like this, to use the media in this way to really share who you are with others. So let's end on this note. Imagine a young Muslimah or a 16-year-old you listening to this podcast, and she is on a journey of finding herself and facing different challenges, and she asks you for a piece of advice. What do you say to her?
The truth never changed. You just discovered it. And by that I mean we all have our paths in this dunya. And sometimes we're not aware of it, no matter the age. But when we do become aware of it, it was always that.
That's great. We all have a story. And you have to, you know, keep writing it in spite of the challenges, knowing that it goes somewhere and that story is important.
Have faith in what you do, right? Because at the end of the day, the true path that you're supposed to be on will show itself. So that could be the path you're currently on, or it could be a failure that leads to that path.
Beautiful. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to today's episode. Like Samah's story showed us, the Muslimah is not her stereotype. Thanks for listening in, everyone. Again, my name is Noor Hewaidi, and I invite you to sit with me in future episodes of Muslimah Demystified. Salam.